Here we have a tale of two Chris's. Two Chris's from Hollywood and two Chris's from the MCU specifically. First and foremost, over the past weekend, Chris Evans, the Captain America himself, somebody who has, after life in the MCU, he has been given opportunity after opportunity to succeed. Okay, he was given a voice acting role for one of Disney's most prominent IPs, and that failed spectacularly. He was giving starring roles opposite The Rock in several headlining movies on Netflix, and even some ensemble events that ended up going to the theaters, and every single one of them failed spectacularly. But he continues to get work. I find this very interesting, okay, because there have been other actors that have tried to make a name for themselves before, but after a couple of flops, normally they just go away. But in the case of Chris Evans, I mean, like, he's waiting to spend that one token where, oh yeah, trust me guys, oh, Chris talked about, oh yeah, no, he's definitely not going to be in Avengers Doomsday, no, Steve Rogers isn't coming back. But at this point, like, everybody's tracking, it's like, yeah, you're kind of back in that MCU shape, okay? Are you taking those Marvel vitamins again, because you're looking awfully jacked? I'm just wondering, man, considering that they're currently filming something that calls for a big ensemble cast. I'm just we're trying to put two and two together on this one. And also, you don't really have other successful career prospects, rather. And so when he was posited a question in promotion of his latest outing that nobody's going to watch or see or remember in a month and a half's time, but the interviewer stuns a crowd with Chris Evans, a failed actor question ahead of a new movie. Yeah, this is kind of brutal, but it's hilarious. A video clip showing an interviewer appearing to suggest Chris Evans as a failed actor has left people stunned. The 44-year-old is currently promoting his upcoming film Sacrifice alongside co-star Anya Taylor-Joy. Well, does she count as two co-stars at this point in time? Because if you simply go by pupil distance, it's the equivalent of, two people sitting side by side. But, sees him stars a struggling actor who is kidnapped by a volcano-worshipping eco-terrorist group who believes sacrificing 3 people will save the whole of humanity. It sounds really contrived and weird, but alright. Directed and co-written by Romain Garvis alongside Will Arbery, and the film boasts a star-studded cast with Selma Hayek, Vincent Cassell, John Malkovich, Sam Richardson, and a cameo from Charlie XCX. Okay, cool. Yeah, star-studded, I guess. Maybe I've been out of the loop for a while when it comes to pop culture, but yeah, John Malkovich, but he's normally the guy that you call in whenever you need some fucking wacky shit to happen, so all right, I guess. Sacrifice, yes, premiered to mixed reactions at Toronto Film Festival over the weekend, with the film star present to face the media's thoughts and opinions, which unfortunately for Evans included a question which appeared to make a dig at his career. Okay, during the Q&A, one reporter was filmed asking Evans, and I would play the clip, but the audio is so fucking cooked that it's not even worth it. But Evans, if he had any concerns about playing a part which was potentially a bit closer to home. Oh, like I kidnap people in order to satisfy an ego-terrorist group? Wait, what? The remainder of the woman's question, is then drowned out by laughter from the surprised audience when Taylor-Joy looks around and appears to smile awkwardly at the moment, because it's like, oh shit, everybody knows it, but you're not supposed to say that. You said the quiet part out loud. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Now, the reporter also appears to be thrown off by the reaction, mumbling her apologies about going viral before adding, were there any concerns about it shaking the fictional world of the film? It's like, ooh, yeah, not really. I guess we could probably play it for just simply, body language analysis, because I think that would be funny, but the audio is so fucking cooked, so I won't even bother on that one, so that's going to be interesting, I guess. So, yeah, there you can see he's in good shape, but yeah, she's looking around, and he's like, yep, yeah, yeah, no, okay, yeah. God, it's just, that's pretty awkward, I guess, if you're going to have to answer that. But while Evans did not appear to be offended by the question, calmly answered by explaining what had drawn him to the film, the internet, of course, had a lot of thoughts on the questions and the reactions in the room, because honestly, he is, and was for the past, 15 years at this point in time, the face of the MCU from when did Captain America, the First Avenger come out? 2011? Yeah, so from 2011 to 2019, he had a very, very, very successful run at Marvel. 8 years of uninterrupted success as one of the co-leads of the MCU. I think that's fair to say, right? Him and Robert Downey Jr., but you take a look at the rest of the pantheon of characters that cropped up during that time, and he is probably the least successful. especially among the pantheon of Chris, of course. Now, the one that has really kind of broken out, but at this point in time, he is starting to see as many bombs as his brother in Chris. You got Chris Hemsworth, Thor. He at least has that Extraction series, and he seems like a generally nice guy. He doesn't say cringy shit every once in a while. And so, yeah, he can be the main antagonist and stupid. Speaking of which, circles all the way back around to Anya Taylor-Joy. He was the main antagonist in the Furiosa movie that flopped last year. And so when he comes back to Thor in Avengers Doomsday, it doesn't really seem so much like he's groveling for another paycheck, because he's still getting opportunities, and he has idly been seen as somebody who has blossomed into a reliable draw, but somebody who has really taken the platform of Marvel and really elevated their stock overall as a consequence is, of course, Chris Pratt. And now he's kind of getting his flowers out there, because you have Glen Powell, the next guy that Hollywood, or at least people, have earmarked as he could potentially be like a big star, okay? Like, he's been around for a while. It's kind of funny, right? Because I seen somebody point this out and it's like, oh shit, that was him. But although it's kind of like how Michael Fassbender's first role in a film was in 300. I didn't know that until it was pointed out, and I was like, wow, really? It took him that long? But anyways, now Glen Powell was the banking manager that Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight intimidated and put the... Oh, no, I'm sorry, Bane, because that was somebody else. My mistake. But no. The bank manager that Bane intimidated. That was Glen Powell. I was like, really? Oh, and Dark Knight Rises. I guess something good did come out of that smoldering pile of shit. But he's out here giving Chris Pratt his flowers. Now, I think his assessment's a little bit of a day late and a dollar short, but this just kind of lets you know, because every once in a while you see those posts about, oh my god, this is the 4 horsemen of I will never watch this movie, and it's like The Rock, Pedro Pascal, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and there's a couple of other interchangeable ones. But I seen this very inorganic, very astroturfed campaign to try to make it seem like Chris Pratt was that guy getting overexposed and overcast and things. But it's like, okay, cool. You might think that he was a little wonky choice when it came to voicing Mario for the Mario Brothers movie, but by the time everybody went around to see that film, they're like, actually did a pretty good job as Mario, and the film made over $1 billion. And he has hits under his belt, like the Tomorrow War is pretty fucking flumpy, but the Terminalist, I mean, people really like that. And even though he starred in The Electric State, it came and went and cost Netflix like $300 million. Who wrote that, by the way? Oh yeah, right. This teaming of the Russo brothers. Probably never heard of them before. I'm sure they won't get their hands on like the most expensive movie of all time. No. No company would be stupid enough to sign them up for that. But Chris Pratt is a legitimate draw. And so when Glen Powell says that Chris Pratt in the Guardians of the Galaxy changed Hollywood's leading men, you can be sillier and not just be brooding like Robert Pattinson and Christian Bale. Why would you point to two guys very prominently portrayed live-action takes on Batman and say that they are analogous to what we've seen in Hollywood over the past, in the case of Bale's Batman, 2005 was when Batman Begins came out. So yeah, for the better part of 2 decades, that leading men during that time were brooding. That's interesting. Okay, let's take a look at this. Glen Powell is tipping his hat to Chris Pratt for indirectly helping him become a bona fide movie star. That's because Powell views Pratt's breakout role in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy as a turning point when Hollywood became a little bit more open to leading men who were a little more silly and buoyant. I would say Tony Stark also contributed to that. He's definitely not so serious. But sure, I guess no other examples really come to mind of somebody cut from the Star-Lord archetype being as successful as Pratt was, but okay. Guardians of the Galaxy opened in 2014. The same year, Powell had a small supporting role in the action movie The Expendables. Oh, great. Powell had been trying and failing for years at that point to hit it big in Hollywood. He told GQ magazine as cover story that the industry's preference for brooding or dark types like Christian Bale and Twilight era Robert Pattinson left him on the outs when it came to casting in big roles, but Pratt changed things. Interesting. I remember when Chris Pratt broke out in Guardians of the Galaxy. There's no doubt it really helped. Not being brooding or dark like I'm not Christian Bale. Bale has the gravitas and the weight, and Pattinson had his thing. And when Pratt kind of appeared on the scene, where he was doing things that were a little bit more silly and buoyant, that's when I felt the most at home. And that's where I feel like I have this gear that is necessary, flavor in terms of Hollywood, and not a gear that a lot of guys can play. Not pull it off believably, because here's the thing about Chris Pratt. It's like he can be a badass and he's a believable ass kicker in his roles. It's just he's also got that comedic side to him, which, being a multifaceted actor is, of course, necessary for every leading man that's out there. The successful ones, of course. Powell is now one of Hollywood's hottest leading men. He's notched box office hits with Anyone But You and Twisters. Yeah, I don't know why that movie made so much money, but it did. And he's now headlining his first action movie star vehicle, with Edgar Wright's reboot of The Running Man in theaters, November 14th. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, he was able to call up when it came to getting in action star mode, Powell was able to call up his mentor and Top Gun Maverick co-star, Tom Cruise, for guidance. Cruise told him to approach the gig as a physical job. I knew that based on Stephen King's book, Ben Richards was a tank. I was like, okay, it was a bit of a, I got to be a bit of a weapon, and so this is why I trained, the way I trained for this, and I put on a lot of muscle. A lot of it was functional. A lot of it was so I could absorb the hits. But a lot of it was also authentically for the audience. I went from going, oh, I'm an actor in a movie, to I'm a high performance athlete. And I'm just very lucky that I have someone like Tom, who I could literally go, hey, how do I do this to survive something? So yeah, he's taking a little bit of Tom Cruise, like the biggest action star of the last 40 years. He's movie star of the past, the past 30, pressing into 40 years at this point in time, and then mixing in with one of right now's most successful Hollywood icons. But this could end up getting him a little bit of heat, because he would have said, oh yeah, no, it's like, Chris Pratt, he's all good and everything, but I really wanted to add an edge like Chris Evans has, okay, or somebody more socially acceptable. Like, I called up Pedro Pascal, and the guy is literally a chameleon, because he can play any role at all whatsoever. But him giving the flowers to Chris Pratt is a little bit problematic, because for whatever reason, right, like whenever I see, like I mentioned before, those overexposed, Chris Pratt is overexposed posts, it always seems to be predicated on the fact that Chris Pratt just seems to be a really good guy. And shit like this, when Chris Pratt leads celebrity reactions to the senseless Charlie Kirk, well, at this point in time, murder, there's a reason why they hate him. They being the activists in these different Hollywood companies and the fucking freaks on social media. But thankfully, it appears, and especially with the Charlie Kirk situation, this shit is not working anymore. And in fact, there is retribution on the horizon, and we might as well get into it with the next video. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Coswell. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.